Are we live?
Sorry, no. Five, four, three, two, one.
And we are back. Sorry about that technical glitch. We had a power outage, trip breaker, looks like. But we are back discussing and over this article about campaign contributions to the GOP by George Soros fund managers. And Tim Elder just looked up really quick why the numbers are always floating around $2,700. And that is the limit for individual campaign contributions. And that's why all these different individuals are paying that amount to support anti-Trump Republicans. And again, from an ethical standpoint, these people saying that they're against George Soros, they're against the liberal left and the communist ideology and the political Satanism, but then receiving money from them, and then being anti-Trump and trying to get rid of Donald Trump, the sovereignty candidate. Boehner's $2,600 donation this cycle came from Besant of Soros Fund Management on February 12, 2015, et cetera, et cetera. And the list goes on and 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 on about how these, quote, Republicans are receiving money from George Soros, the demonic Nazi. George Soros, the Nazi who is literally sells out his own people. The Nazi that is involved in the violent riots and the protesting and funding these fascist movements and these violent communist movements. This evil supervillain. Now let's go to Tim and his comments on the Chernihiv Constitution that he wanted to make. Go ahead, Tim.
The role of money in politics is really a perennial problem in all democracies, especially in the developed world. And it's not just about Soros, although Soros is a very extreme case. How to get around this, and there have been various efforts to set limits on this. And for example, according to the Federal Election Commission website that I'm looking at now, right now in the United States, an individual may give up to a maximum of $2,700 per election to a federal candidate or the candidate's campaign committee, $5,000 per calendar year to a political action committee, $10,000 per calendar year to a state or local party committee, $33,000 per year to a national party committee. But there, as we've seen with Soros, there are ways of getting around this. For example, Soros can have different people. He can have 10 of his employees give $2,700 each, for example, and that would be $27,000. And the thing about money is that for one thing, it buys access. Because once a person is elected, the first thing that they do is they start their next campaign. Because especially in the House of Representatives, there's an election every 2 years. And as soon as you're elected, you have to start raising money for your next campaign. And the reason that the turnover rate in the U.S. House of Representatives is something like 97%, it's even higher than the old Soviet Union Bureau or their system, is because the incumbents are able to raise this kind of money from people like Soros by giving them what they want, giving them access, giving them power. So how to overcome this perennial problem of money in politics? How to get rid of that influence? One very excellent way, I think, is included in the Chernihiv Constitution that the king put forward in October of 2015. And there, first of all, you have one member of the House of Representatives for every 2,100 population. Now, given the current U.S. population of approximately 340 million, that would be 162,000 members of the House of Representatives. How are you going to buy all of them off? And because of each member of the House represents such a small constituency, if you figure that out of 2,100, probably about about 2/3 of those people have voting rights. That's 1,400. So you need about, out of 1,400, you would need, even if all 1,400 people voted, you only need 700 votes to get elected. And so that means that 700 people, you can know that many people. So that closes down the power of money, power of media for getting elected. Even a normal person can get elected. You don't have to spend hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars, even $1 billion to become president. You don't have to spend that kind of money to get into Congress. And then the president is chosen in a different way from what we do today. Where the president is chosen by, you say that any time that you have 10 members of the House who support a candidate or support a person, that person is automatically a candidate. And then once you have the list of candidates, then you start the election, and it goes through very quickly, probably in a day or two. You don't have these months and months and months long. You have an election, and if someone gets the majority right away, then that person is president. Well, what if he not, then the top 7 people go into round 2, and then the top 6 into round 3, and so forth and so on, until you have someone who receives a majority vote in the House of Representatives. So that eliminates or drastically reduces, but I would say more than 99% eliminates the power of money, power of someone like George Soros, and the power of big media to influence elections. And I think that would be a very important way to have the will of the people reflected in national politics without people like Soros intervening.
Well, great breakdown, Tim. Moving to other news, Melania Trump refiles a $150 million libel lawsuit against Daily Mail publisher. First Lady Melania Trump has refiled a $150 million libel lawsuit. Oh, goodness. Here we go. Against the Daily Mail in New York after a judge dismissed an earlier suit filed in Maryland on jurisdictional grounds. She previously filed a lawsuit in Maryland against the company that publishes the Daily Mail's website, but a judge ruled that the case should not have been filed in the state. Mail Media Inc. has a corporate office in New York, according to multiple reports. Trump originally filed her suit against the Daily Mail and Maryland-based political blogger Webster Griffin Tarpley in September after they published allegations that she once worked for an escort service, basically saying that she was a prostitute, making that claim in the 1990s. That's what they are claiming. The Daily Mail retracted the story after she filed the lawsuit. Trump's lawsuit against the blogger will move forward in Maryland, according to reports. She should definitely go after him for publishing those kind of things and defaming or defamation. So that's other top news. Also, Delling poll NOAA scandal gives Trump the perfect excuse to drain the climate swamp. NOAA deliberately fiddled the climate data to hide pause in global warming in time for the UN's COP21 Paris talks. Really, this whistleblowing revelation couldn't have come at a better time for Donald Trump. In the field of energy and climate, President Trump has said that there is a massive swamp that needs draining. But his efforts are being resisted at every turn by those lying scientists, bent politicians, rent-seeking businessmen, and Soros-funded activist groups who insist what swamp, what crocodiles, what leeches, nothing to see here. But the whistleblowing NOAA insider John Bates has just done is prove beyond reasonable doubt what some of us have long claimed, that from NASA, GIS, and NOAA across the pond to the UEA and the Met Office's Hadley Center, the world's leading temperature data sets have been hijacked by climate activists and abused to advance a political agenda. Here at Breitbart, we smelt a rat from the moment the NOAA released its dodgy, quote, pause-busting study 2 years ago. As reported with perhaps a hint of snark in Hide the Hiatus, How the Climate Alarmists Eliminated the Inconvenient Pause in Global Warming. The paper seemed to have been produced by 2 alarmist shills at NOAA, Tom Carl and Thomas Peterson, with the express purpose of confounding skeptics in the run-up to Paris. The thrust of Carl's paper is this, that far from staying flat since 1998, Global temperatures have carried on rising. It's just that scientists haven't noticed before because they've been looking in the wrong place, on land rather than in the sea, where all the real heat action is happening. Oh, is that right, Carl? And how did Carl et al. Notice what everyone else has missed until now? Well, by using a specialized scientific technique called, quote, getting your excuses in early before the Paris Climate Conference in December, end quote. Essentially, this technique involves making adjustments to the raw temperature data and discovering, lo, that the skeptics were wrong and the alarmists were right all along. Carl's paper makes much of the fact that the methods used for gathering sea temperature data have changed over the years. In the old days, it used to involve buckets, more recently engine intake thermometers. Hence his excuse for these magical adjustments. Apparently, amazing conveniently, the measurements used since 1998 have been running cold and therefore needed correcting in a handy upward direction in order to show that what was really happening to global warming. Once you realize this, global warming turns out to be as real and present and dangerous as it ever was, Carl says. In October 25th, 2015, we followed up with a story headline, NOAA admits to hide the cause in global warming, the most disgraceful cover-up since ClimateGate. This reported on how NOAA had refused to give up its documents in response to a subpoena by Representative Lamar Smith, who also smelt a rat and just needed some raw data to prove it. Now, NOAA insider John Bates has provided the smoking gun to Mail on Sunday reporter David Rose. In an exclusive interview, Dr. Bates accused the leader of the paper, Thomas Carl, who was until last year director of the NOAA section that produced climate data, the National Centers for Environmental Information, NCEI, of insisting on decisions and scientific choices that maximize warming and minimize documentation. In an effort to discredit the notion of global warming, pause rushed so that he could time publication to influence national and international deliberations on climate policy. Again, we see fake scientists bought off by the globalists. Dr. Bates was one of two principal scientists at NCEI, based in Asheville, North Carolina. Official delegations from America, Britain, and the EU were strongly influenced by the flawed NOAA study as they hammered out the Paris Agreement and committed advanced nations to sweeping reductions to the use of the fossil fuel and to spending £80 billion every year on the new climate-related project. Bates enlarged on this at Judith Curry's blog. His critique is generally quite arid, measured, and scientific. Bates is a proper scientist. That is what scientists are like. But then he delivers the killer blow here. By K15, he means the paper by Carl et al. Gradually, in the months after K15, the paper call came out, the evidence kept mounting that Tom Carl constantly had his, quote, thumb on the scale in the documentation, scientific choices, and release of data sets. In an effort to discredit the notion of a global warming hiatus and rush to the time publication of the paper to influence national and international deliberations on climate policy, which then, of course, tax people and give the normal citizen carbon taxes, which they use and receive government funding from. What does this all mean in terms of science? Not much. As we've seen above, there have been strong suspicions about Carl et al. Paper since the moment it was published. In terms of the climate propaganda wars, on the other hand, it is huge. This is a blow from which the alarmist establishment may never recover, for it gives the Trump administration just the excuse it needs to sweep clean the Aegean of corrupt climate science once and forever. Trump is now in the perfect position to demand that climate-related scientific bodies in receipt of government funding, all of them, make their code and data available to the public. This will mean that the truth about all the data manipulations of NASA and NOAA will finally be exposed to the world, making it impossible for global warming propagandists to use the appeal to authority, but the experts of NOAA and NASA say, anytime soon. Now, those fake experts at NASA and NOAA will be out of a job, replaced by honest scientists who actually cleave to scientific method and not political expediency. And you can see this is the problem with science, and this is what normal kids who learn science in public schools never learn. That science can be hijacked, science can be bought off, scientists can be bought off for political aim. And for those centralists and the globalists and the political Satanists who want to centralize power and make this world government that can issue world taxes over every single human being on the planet, including carbon taxes for breathing and driving a car. Meanwhile, they're flying around in jumbo jets and planes, emitting tons of carbon emissions. Of course, they are above the law and they are not taxed by those carbon taxes. But the normal individual, especially the middle class individual, will have to then pay tons of carbon taxes, which they've already implemented in California as well. This is the idiocy of fake science. And now they're being exposed because now Trump is bringing a new atmosphere at the microcosmic level that is helping everybody gain confidence, and the good people within the federal bureaucracies or government are now starting to expose the fakery and leak it out so that truth can be deliver the death blow to these propagandists, these communists, these socialists, and these political Satanists. What an exciting time to be alive, folks. We'll be right back after this short break. back. Welcome back to the King's Report this exciting Tuesday, February 7th, 2017. I'm your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk, and we are broadcasting live from the Cheongguk Palace. Before we go to this story, let's go to Tim and his report on Merkel. Tim.
Okay, the elections in Germany are scheduled for September of this year, and Angela Merkel is trying to run for another term, but it looks like she's in big trouble. She's in big trouble. There are polls being released now, and this is an article from the Express, a UK paper, publishing, but it's based on a poll released in Germany, and it says that if Angela Merkel were to have to face election today, she would lose the election, and she would no longer be the Chancellor of Germany. But the person who would replace her then would be Martin Schulz, who is an ex-EU president. So I'm not sure how much of an improvement that would be. But let me go through the article here. Social Democrats, SPD leader and Brexit opponent, Mr. Schulz, 61, who resigned from his EU presidency last month, is on target to win in the forthcoming elections in Germany, according to a new poll. And 62-year-old Mrs. Merkel's Christian Democratic Party, which has just ratified a law banning refugee families as well as raft of immigration laws, will be more than decimated by the far right. Mr. Schulz leads the SPD, which holds a minority share of Mrs. Merkel's grand coalition. So Schulz is just another member of the current ruling coalition in Germany right now. But a poll commissioned by the national newspaper Bild shows that Mrs. Merkel is fast losing support after announcing her candidacy for the CDU in December. The poll for Bild newspaper put the SPD, that's the Schulz's party, at 31%, and the conservatives, Merkel is considered a conservative, at 30%. So right now she's behind 31-30. And the populist Alternative for Germany, now this is the Eurosceptic party. This is the party that wants Germany, is not so excited about Germany being in the European Union. And the Alternative for Germany was projected third with 12%. And then the hard left party then at 10%. Now, why has Mrs. Merkel's approval rating collapsed? That's because the Federal Ministry of Finance recently revealed that taxpayers will be spending 37 billion pounds or 43 billion euros for 2016-2017 migrant budget to meet the challenges of the nation state last week. So apparently letting all those migrants in wasn't such a good idea for Mrs. Merkel's career. Taxpayers are saying, say what? You want us to spend what? 43 billion euros? Yeah, she's not so popular after that news came out. Bundestag politicians have instigated an Asylum Procedures Acceleration Act in a bid to speed up the process of deportation. So suddenly they want to get people out. Next thing you know, they'll be talking about a wall.
Exactly.
The German parliament has banned family reunions for 2 years, and now despite swift action, even a call to ban the burqa, Mrs. Merkel is in a race against time to turn around public opinion. Yeah, it wasn't such a good idea, was it? Large-scale sex attacks, terror sprees, and horrific crimes, which have broken out all over Germany, have led to protests in the streets. Yeah.
But I thought they told everybody multiculturalism is enriching.
Yes.
And that all of the country will be enriched by our tolerance and multiculturalism.
Well, it's not enriching the taxpayers, that's for sure.
You'll only get raped and be taxed and give us more centralized power, and all the girls will have to be fearful of walking in the streets for getting gang raped. That's all. That's all the cultural enrichment we want to give you because we're so loving and compassionate and we moral posture and we pretend we're really good and righteous like the Pharisees. Don't Don't shun us. Don't be racist and bigoted. We just want you to get raped, girls. We just want migrants to hoard around you and sexually assault you and throw you on the ground and rape you to death. That's all. That's the type of cultural enrichment we want for you. Don't you love us? Make sure you vote for us next round. This is the demons these people are. These political Satanists, everybody is sick of them. We are sick of the political Satanists. And in other news, Tim, look at this. In Brazil as well. Look at this. WAPO. WAPO is also reporting Brazil swings to the right, setting stage for a Trump-like leader in Brazil. A big multi-ethnic country built by immigrants and slaves of septuagenarian white male leader is riding a right-wing backlash after an era of leftist rule. His much younger spouse is a former model. His 5-letter name starts with T, but is Temer, not Trump. Brazilian President Michel Temer took office 5 months ago after the impeachment and political humiliation of the country's first female political leader, Dilma Rousseff, ousting her left-wing Workers' Party after 14 years in power. Temer named an all-male cabinet and quickly embraced a right-leaning regulation-slashing agenda. Temer, 76, is not a Brazilian version of Trump. He does not have a populist touch or a showman's flair. He is a career politician and government insider at a time when both things are deeply unpopular in Brazil. And yet, like the United States, Brazil is a big country whose political center has swung abruptly to the right. The next presidential election is not until 2018, but in a municipal level contest held in October, Rousseff's once dominant Workers' Party has trounced, losing 60% of the city's government seats it controlled. Temer's centrist Brazilian Democratic Party movement and the more conservative Brazilian Social Democratic Party swept the country's most important districts. The results were the clearest signal yet of a shift in mentality in the country, according to the political analyst Lucas de Arajão of the Brazilian-based consulting firm Arco. It is anti-status quo sentiment, just like Brexit and Trump, Arajão said, but I don't think it's about ideology as much as a lack of results. Again, you see the revolution is sweeping into Latin America now. See, sovereignty, people being able to choose their own destiny instead of giving it to a handful of unelected officials who take billion-dollar salaries, et cetera, and are above the laws and create regulations that kill the middle class and be able to support their monopolies and support all their Davos group and Bilderberg friends. Rousseff was impeached on charges of violating budget-making rules, not for personal corruption, but she and the Workers' Party have shouldered most of the blame for Brazil's worst economic crisis since the 1930s and the biggest corruption scandal in the country's history. Temer, who is married to a 33-year-old former model, is a constitutional law expert who speaks carefully and sends out dull, dutiful tweets. His patrician bearing may be hurting him at a time when Brazilians are looking for someone who doesn't talk like a professor. And with virtually Brazil's entire political establishment under suspicion of shady dealings, Temer's tight-lipped rectitude can seem like opacity. Once in power, Temer embraced Brazil's rightward turn, but has not embraced him. His approval ratings are hover around 14%, roughly on par with Rousseff's before impeachment. Whether it's Temer or not, doesn't matter. The fact that sovereignty is sweeping the globe, the mood of the globe is changing. The internet is allowing for alternative media to expose the reality of these super elitist centralists, super elitist globalists, super elitist political Satanists. And people are saying, no, we don't want no more political Satanism. We want to have sovereignty. And this is what's happened. Bloodthirsty mob over city streets, leaving trail of death and rape after police go on strike. These are graphic images. There's a warning here. Dead bodies are left in pools of blood in the streets as gangs wielding guns and machetes launch a relentless rampage. There's a man that's all bloodied up and dead bodies on the streets. An explosion of violent crimes that hit the streets of Brazil after the military police went on strike. Looting, rape, and murders have been reported as the scenes of devastation are being compared to the 2014 thriller The Purge. The military police in Brazil being extremely corrupt, and of course federalized, which is of course a big danger because if the ruling class gets control of that military, you can have rampages like this. With officers staging a walkout over conditions, lawless gangs wielding guns and machetes appear to be running riot while dead bodies line the street. Of course, the police are not responsible for killing all these people. But in a sense, because they're on strike, or they are walking, doing some kind of walkout over certain conditions, The violence in these people are prey. The citizens of Brazil are prey to these gangs. It doesn't help that you have a war on drugs system of war fighting narcotics in Brazil as well. That helps in narcotics black market trade. That helps keep the prices inflated so that these drug monies the drug lords are making tons of money. And it doesn't help that Brazilians cannot carry firearms and defend themselves. They're totally, at the mercy of these people. Now, a lot of Brazilians know Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or mixed martial arts, but that doesn't help you against somebody who has a machete and or has a firearm shooting your head off. Shut the F up. Marcelo has a very bright response for Real Madrid fans angry at his message to Neymar. One resident told Political Outsource the thugs are randomly shooting at anyone who passes the streets in Espirito Santo. My God, what is happening? Schools have been closed, even football matches canceled in affected areas due to the lack of security, which has meant, this is the problem. When you give your power of self-defense over to the archangel in political Satanism, this is what you get. You cannot defend yourself. That's why every sovereign citizen of the kingdom of God must have the power of the kings and queens of past. They have the power to defend themselves and to bear arms against wickedness and evil that seek to destroy and harm them, like the streets in Brazil. Again, these images show clearly, should go back to these images real quick before we go to break, show very clearly the rampage that is now oversweeping Brazil and taking over Brazil. Again, giving rise to the understanding that we need to have the right of self-defense, normal citizens, and not rely on some security state for our protection. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hello, welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to register online with our HSU classes. So let's do this. First you go to www.sanctuary-pa.org. Then you click on HSU. Scroll down, choose a class, and click on Register. Here you can fill in all the information that is needed for your registration. It's that easy. You can also go to ChristKingdomGospel.org to register. Click on Classes, scroll down, choose a class, and click on Register. Registration starts at January 22nd. Don't miss the deadline. It will come soon. So now you know how to register. I'll see you in class. I'm excited. No, just it.
Let me be an instrument.
back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Tuesday, February 7th, 2017. I'm your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. And let's go to this video by PragerU on why I left the left. Let's cue that video.
Do you believe in free speech? Do you believe that people should be judged by their character, not their skin color? Do you believe in freedom of religion?
Do we have audio there?
If you believe these things, you're probably not a progressive. You might think you're a progressive. I used to think I was. My show, The Rubin Report, was originally part of the Progressive Young Turks network. Progressives struck me as liberals, but louder. Progressives were the nice guys. They looked out for the little guy. They cared about women and minorities. They embraced change. In short, who wouldn't want to be a progressive? But over the last couple of years, the meaning of the word progressive has changed. Progressives used to say, I may disagree with what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. Not anymore. Banning speakers whose opinions you don't agree with from college campuses, that's not progressive. Prohibiting any words not approved of as politically correct, that's not progressive. Putting trigger warnings on books, movies, music, anything that might offend people, that's not progressive either. All of this has led me to believe that much of the left is no longer progressive, but regressive. This is one of the reasons I've spent so much time on my show talking about the regressive left. This regressive ideology doesn't judge people as individuals, but as a collective. If you're black or female or Muslim or Hispanic or member of any other minority group, you're judged differently than the most evil of all things, a white Christian male. The regressive left ranks minority groups in a pecking order to compete in a kind of oppression Olympics. Gold medal goes to the most offended. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream that his children would be judged by their character and not their skin color was a liberal idea, but these days it's not a progressive ideal. And what about religious freedom, the idea that no one else can tell you what you have to believe? Surely progressives still support that basic right.
Nope.
Well, not so much. I'm a married gay man, so you might think that I appreciate the government forcing a Christian baker or photographer or florist to act against their religion in order to cater, photograph, or decorate my wedding. But you'd be wrong. A government that can force Christians to violate their conscience can force me to violate mine. If a baker won't bake you a cake, find another baker. Don't demand that the state tell him what to do with his private business. I'm pro-choice, but a government that can force a group of Catholic nuns, literally called the Little Sisters of the Poor, to violate their faith and pay for abortion-inducing birth control can force anyone to do anything. That's not progressive, that's regressive. Today's progressivism has become a faux moral movement hurling charges of racism, bigotry, xenophobia, homophobia, Islamophobia, and a slew of other meaningless buzzwords at anyone they disagree with. The battle of ideas has been replaced by a battle of feelings, and outrage has replaced honesty. Diversity reigns supreme as long as it's not that pesky diversity of thought. This isn't the recipe for a free society, it's a recipe for authoritarianism. For these reasons, I can no longer call myself a progressive. I don't really call myself a Democrat either. I'm a classical liberal, a free thinker, and as much as I don't like to admit it, defending my liberal values has suddenly become a conservative position. So if you think people should be able to say what they think without being punished for it, that people should be judged by their behavior, not their skin color, and that people should be able to live the way that they want to live without government interference, then there's not much left on the left for you. I'll keep trying to explain that to progressives until I'm totally left out. I'm Dave Rubin of The Rubin Report for Prager University.
Look at that, Dave Rubin. Openly gay Dave Rubin is, well, who was part of the Young Turks network, is now admitting that progressives aren't progressives. Oh, Dave Rubin, good job. You put 2 plus 2 together. And now you see 2 plus 2 does equal 4. And you see that these regressive leftists are insanos, and they are moral postures, and they are simply archangelic political Satanists who want to concentrate power so they can bully people around, pretend that they're tolerant while they use coercion and force to make you pay double, triple your taxes, make you pay double, triple for insurance, make you pay double, triple for riding a car around with carbon taxes, make you say this, make you have to go to this or that school, public school, force you to go to this school, send your kids there, force you to go into debt slavery, force you to disarm yourself, force you to have no rights of self-defense, force you to have no judicial due process, force you to live in a state of total authoritarianism. And now people on the left even are saying, my gosh, this movement is disgusting. And they're realizing the fact that this is not liberal. And he's talking about classical liberal. Okay, you idiot. Yes, now classical liberalism, now you're starting to understand, you stupid liberals. You are not liberals, you're authoritarians, you're not true liberals. True liberals defend other people's rights even though they don't agree with them. God is a true liberal. He allows Adam and Eve to have the choice between good and evil. He allows choice. I am a true liberal, classical liberal. InfoWars and Breitbart and Drudge, they're true liberals. We don't agree with necessarily everything they say or some of their lifestyles, but we don't want centralized archangelic power regulating and ruling over any one of us. And you can see that reality now coming through, that even people on the left are starting to realize the insanity of the lunacy, the lunatic left. Meanwhile, in other news, Breitbart's top story, Arabian Gulf War Games, by Christina Wong. Arabian Gulf, as U.S. tensions with Iran rose last week, 17 ships from the United States, United Kingdom, France, and Australia launched a major war game just 50 miles from the Iranian coast. Smack dab in the middle of the Gulf, the ships steamed together in wedge formation in the first iteration of the exercise dubbed Unified Trident. Let's go to this video.
Attack against a Saudi naval vessel conducted by Iran-supported Houthi militants underscore what should have been clear to the international community all along about Iran's destabilizing behavior across the entire Middle East. The recent ballistic missile launch is also in defiance of UN Security Council Resolution 2231, which calls upon Iran not to undertake any activity related to ballistic missiles designed to be capable of delivering nuclear weapons, including launches using such ballistic missile technology. These are just the latest of a series of incidents in the past 6 months in which Houthi forces that Iran has trained and armed have struck Emirati and Saudi vessels and threatened United States and allied vessels transiting the Red Sea. In these and other similar activities, Iran continues to threaten U.S. friends and allies in the region. The Obama administration failed to respond adequately to Tehran's malign actions, including weapons transfers, support for terrorism, and other violations of international norms. The Trump administration condemns such actions by Iran that undermine security, prosperity, and stability throughout and beyond the Middle East, and which places American lives at risk. President Trump has severely criticized the various agreements reached between Iran and the Obama administration, as well as the United Nations, as being weak and ineffective. Instead of being thankful to the United States in these agreements, Iran is now feeling emboldened. As of today, we are officially putting Iran on notice. Thank you.
So again, you see there on the video, General Flynn talking about Iran. HMS Ocean, a British amphibious assault ship carrying around 750 personnel. 150 of them Royal Marines led the way. About 500 yards behind was the French destroyer FS Forbin, and about 500 yards behind was U.S. destroyer USS Mahan. Another 500 yards behind was Australian destroyer HMAS Arunta, each carried about 300 sailors. Another destroyer, an Aegis cruiser, a supply ship, minesweepers, patrol boats, and Coast Guard cutters made up the flanks. The ships cast dark gray silhouettes against a light gray sky and a bluish gray sea, which was fairly calm, though the wind started to pick up. Although the ships moved about 5 football fields away from each other, they were well within sight from the USS Mahan, where a small group of journalists, including from Breitbart News, observed the exercise. There they are, live pictures from there. As the Mahan nears exactly 500 yards behind the foreman, a young sailor on deck squinted into binoculars and shouted the exact distances as it closed in. Most of the sailors on the ship, clad in blue jumpsuits, appeared to be in their 20s. Driving the ship was 20-year-old Seaman Rondo Parker from Columbus, Ohio. The ship's captain, U.S. Navy Commander Mark Davis, explained to the journalists that the ships, which all belong to the battle group currently tasked with regional security, don't normally travel so close together. However, it was one part of the 3-day exercise that began last Tuesday, focused on defeating and deterring a fictitious enemy force. In fact, it was just weeks before that Davis had faced down 4 Iranian fast attack boats that had sped so dangerously close towards his ship that he directed his sailors to fire 3 warning shots. One Iranian ship got only 900 yards away, about as close as HMS Ocean was at that moment, when sailors fired the warning shots from 50 caliber guns mounted on the ship's right side. Wow, you can see it. You can see those 50 caliber guns right there on the sides of the boat. The noise of the shots are very distinctive. Davis said the Iranian boats then turned away. Although he said his sailors are trained to do this and that he did not have to calm any of them down, a young officer on board privately told Breitbart News that the crew was on edge and freaked out the next day when they pulled near the United Arab Emirates and saw more Iranian fast attack boats. The incident appeared to be part of an exercise commanders were now conducting, even as they denied it had anything to do with Iran. It's not a show of force to the Iranians at all. The exercise logistical planner, British Royal Navy Lieutenant Commander Ant Wallace, told the journalists about the HMS Ocean on the first day of the exercise. The reason we're doing this exercise, and I'll stress this over and over again, is because it's easier to do here than it would be anywhere else. The fact that it's in the Arabian Gulf is coincidental, really, he said. Who the heck believes that from these government officials? Commanders emphasized that the multilateral exercise, which we just put Iran on notice. We just put an international warning on Iran. Oh, and coincidentally, we have a couple of naval aircraft carriers or whatever, these huge battleships, floating around there doing exercise for the next 3 days. Oh, but that's coincidence, Tim. That's what they say. Commanders emphasized that the multilateral exercise, which had never been done before, was an opportunity to work on their mutual capabilities and enhance cooperation. Oh, yes, of course. But the exercise featured 2 fictitious regional rivals, Redland and Grunland, which bore close resemblance to Iran and the U.S. Historically, the RL Maritime Militia have threatened merchant traffic in the Strait of Hormuz to pressure GL and the wider international community. Such behavior has broadly unified the international community behind GL, an exercise briefing slide read. Increasing aggressive interaction between coalition and Red Line Maritime Militia units, including warning shots. The day before journalists embarked on the Mahan, the crew had an opportunity to fire all of its weapons, including a massive 5-inch turret deck gun akin to a cannon called the CIWS, but pronounced CIWS. This is a deck gun whose fire is so fast it sounds like a lawnmower engine, and its 25mm guns are manned by 1 sailor. This time, Iranian boats were nowhere to be seen, even though Iranian leaders had slammed the exercise in advance, with its Navy commander, Rear Admiral Habibullah Sayari, warning they would not dare enter Iran's territorial waters, according to Tehran Times. Although the exercise was planned 8 to 9 weeks ago, it coincided with an escalation in U.S. tension with Iran last week and underscored the growing risk of potential military flare-up. On the Sunday before the exercise began, Iran fired a ballistic missile in defiance of international law. On Monday, Iran-backed Houthi rebels in the Red Sea rammed a boat into a ship belonging to Saudi Arabia, a U.S. ally in the region, and on Tuesday, the exercise began. On Wednesday, National Security Advisor Michael Flynn said the U.S. was officially putting Iran on notice. On Thursday, Trump said nothing's off the table when asked about a military response to Iran. On Friday, he slapped a new round of sanctions on Iran's missile program, while Iran said that it would not allow U.S. wrestlers into Iran to participate in a tournament after an executive order that barred visas from Iranians and 7 other nationalities. On Saturday, Iran reversed its decision to bar the U.S. wrestlers from entering, but kicked off its own military exercises, defying the new sanctions and signaling continued defiance of the international community. The Trump administration has warned it may take further actions against Iran for its ballistic missile development. Some experts argue the Trump administration's actions are putting the U.S. on a dangerous escalatory path with Iran without any diplomatic approach or exit strategy. Sooner or later, given the numerous tensions with Iran around the region, this escalatory dynamic risks spiraling into war, the National Iranian-American Council said in a statement. But other experts argue that not responding out of fear of escalation only plays into Iranian hands. They want us to be self-deterred, thereby normalizing unacceptable Iranian behavior and encouraging further provocations, said Alexander Alden, Senior Fellow for U.S. Strategy at the Center for National Interest. The Trump administration is telling Iran, "You're admonished," and conveying that there is renewed resolve in Washington, he said. That's the only way to avoid actual escalation and potential conflict. To make it abundantly clear to the Iranian regime that if push comes to shove, they will be on the wrong side of the escalation dynamic and that they don't really want to go down that road. Iran's recent provocations follow a string of incidents during the last month of the Obama administration, despite the signing of a nuclear deal with Iran last year, that was supposed to help improve U.S.-Iran relations. Literally, Obama sending billions of dollars of cash to Iran. Insanity. In September, an Iranian fast attack boat came within 100 yards of a new U.S. Navy coastal patrol boat. In October, Houthi rebels in the Red Sea fired missiles twice at the USS Mason, a U.S. destroyer. And last month came the incident with the Mahan. The number of unsafe or unprofessional interactions, as the U.S. Navy calls them, with Iran have risen in the last few years despite the Iran deal. In 2015, 327 total interactions, 23 were deemed unsafe and unprofessional. 2016, 527 interactions with 35 deemed unsafe and unprofessional. If you have a bully that beats you up every day you go to school, and you continue to reward that bully with money, and you give him more and more money every time he beats you up, do you think he's going to stop beating you up? Will he stop harassing you on the courtyard? Every time he beats you up, you give him more money. So the first time he beats you up, you give him $1. Second time he beats you up, you give him $5. Third time he beats you up, you give him $20. Fourth time he beats you up, you give him $100. Fifth time you beat him up, you give him $500. Sixth time he beats you up, you give him $1,000. Seventh time he beats you up, you give him $10,000. What the hell do you think this idiot's gonna do? He's gonna keep whooping your ashtray like a cigarette blunt. He's gonna keep whooping your ashtray. What the heck do you think? And of course, Iran was there with the Khomeini regime saying, "Death to America, death to America." You guys pull some of that stuff up with the Khomeini regime in Iran, the imams saying, "Death to America," whatever America is saying, whatever. And then Obama rewards them and pays them billions of dollars in cash. I mean, what the heck do you expect? And of course, now they're trying to test their new boundaries with Trump. We'll have to see how this escalates and or de-escalates, how the Trump administration will deal with this rising conflict. Remember, we never said Trump was perfect. He's just a million times better than Hillary Clinton and Obama, who was guaranteed to get us into war. But again, another obstacle and another real challenge for the Trump administration, how they will deal with this issue of escalation in the Middle East. We'll be right back after this short break.
to extend Jesus' name globally as the waters cover the sea. Open the heavens, oh Lord. Pour out your spirit, cover the earth with your glory. Cover the earth with your glory. Cover the earth with the sound of heaven. All of the earth is yours. All of the earth is yours. All of the nations adore you. Cover the earth with the sound of heaven. Cover the earth. Start rocking, Lord. Open up the heavens. Come on. Open up the heavens. Let a new sound be released. As the waters cover the sea, cover the earth.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Getting you. I'm live, and we are back. As I talked to Queen, I said to Queen, look at your daddy's shoulders today in this suit we got 20 years ago. I still can put it on for the Queen with my little rose and my little wine-colored get up. Where's she running out to? Where's she going? Oh, you trying to run away? I'll get you later, baby. Okay, welcome back to the King's Report. At the top of the third hour, on this Tuesday, February 7th, 2017, I'm your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk, as I was just talking some wonderful whining and dining with the Queen just now as we came in surprisingly of the break. Now let's go to our third hour Cheonseongyung scripture to start the hour off. Go ahead, Tim.
All right, I'm in Book 9, Chapter 4. This is on page 1421. From now, these words were spoken in 1989. From now, you will return to your hometowns and compete with each other as to who will be the first to expand the environmental conditions in which you can restore your tribes through your own efforts. You will compete with each other over this issue. So regardless of whichever tribe you belong to, the tribes will be organized together according to those who have returned to their hometowns.
Wow.
What I
Did
mean
you hear
by
that? Did you hear that? You will compete with each other. Father.
yes, free market.
Isn't that amazing?
Isn't
See?
that right?
Right there. He said it right there. Go ahead.
What I mean is that the time is coming in which the branches, which are to point east, west, north, and south, will be decided and registered accordingly in the family register. There will no longer be racial discrimination or distinctions between the developed and developing nations. The biggest question is how well you can unite, centering on your good ancestors in the spirit world, and how well you can lay the foundation upon which they can come down to earth and support you. Your work in developing your hometown and how it is carried out will all depend on this point. How big a branch is will therefore be an issue. Even if the trunk is dead, if the branch is big enough, it can serve as the trunk. The shoot comes out first, then the branches sprout. This holds true for humankind as well, but this is not the main issue. The question is how you can grow new branches. In other words, how the members of your tribe can be registered into the realm and return to the original homeland, the kingdom of heaven. You must realize that you are standing on the path to the homeland.
Wow. Jude, that's amazing. That really shows with the whole notion of how we have to go back to the hometown providences, and then we have to compete with each other. That embracing of competition is essential because that allows for real free trade and free association. You know, and competition is not bad. I mean, it's just that people have been so dumbed down and made to be so weak that they see competition as some kind of evil thing when it's the best thing for humanity, it's the best thing for innovation, it's the best thing for human flourishing, it's the best thing for actual human development. It makes you very realistic. Now, we want to go to our surprised guest today, Greg Knoll, who joins us again here on the King's Report. And Greg, talk to us about that scripture and how your own experience of hometown Providence and developing your own portfolio into including all these things that Father was talking about, how you've actualized that, and maybe some advice for our viewers today. Go ahead, Greg Knoll.
Yeah, well, a few years ago, my wife and I decided to take more control of our destiny.
Wow.
With God, of course, at the center.
Wow.
But to no longer just be slaves of our particular environment, but really to become sovereign owners of our own land. So we were homeowners before, but we wanted to take control and really start growing our own food and understand exactly where our food comes from. Because the more we went down the rabbit hole of how government was colluding with farms and creating this whole processed food network, we wanted to take control of that. And so what we decided to do is to buy our own farm and start growing our own food. And so we actually divested from the stock market, reallocated those assets into land, into animals, into seeds, into actually creating a future that we felt was much more sustainable, much more in line with living in the realm of the three blessings, where you really take responsibility for your own health and wellness. You create an environment for your family to be raised in nature, in a farming environment, and also to take stewardship of the land. That was really important to us because we're been in conservative environmentalists for a long time, and we felt the family farm was really the best way to take care of the land,
Honor the land. Right.
respect the land. Whereas big corporate farming and the whole current agricultural system, the whole food supply now is damaging the environment beyond what most people realize.
Let me stop you right there. Is there a movie or documentary that you guys recommend for consumers or people to look into farming or factory farming versus private land farming? Wasn't there a movie that you were
Food Inc. Came
Food
out
Inc.
a while ago, and that really exposes.
Get a picture of Food Inc. up, guys, so we can see that, our audience
That
can
one
see
came
that.
out about, I think, like 8 years ago, but it
Let's
was
get some
really
images of that up
kind
there.
of a landmark documentary on just how animals are treated and how workers are treated, how the land is being polluted through these large agricultural farms raising 10 to 20,000 cattle in a small amount of space. Pig farming has become such a toxic waste dump. And it's not only bad for the land, but these animals are really tortured. And I made a commitment back then that I wouldn't eat meat from those kinds of farms. And you're also supporting these, again, the collusion between government and big ag. That's not something...
The lobbying and all that. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
my
crazy.
wife and I decided a while ago, the best way to change things is to vote with your dollars. So give your hard-earned dollars not to these government-funded through the farm bills, these massive agricultural enterprises, which really doesn't make a level playing field for competition. The small family farm has no way to compete with these subsidized welfare farms. They're basically welfare farms. They can't make money on their own, so they need the big government to come in and subsidize them, and then that lowers the prices, therefore driving small family farms out of business. It's a travesty.
It's total collusion. Collusion.
Yeah.
And then you have the whole lobby industry. You have the whole EPA going after family farms, Department of Agriculture, now even being weaponized, going after family farms in California, saying that they're not using EPA and Department of Agriculture approved fertilizer. They can't use cow manure. They can't even use their own livestock manure, which has been done for 10,000 years since the agricultural revolution. And they can't even use that. That's being regulated out there nuts under the Obama administration. Now, we hope that Trump will change it. He said he's gonna deregulate, and he's gonna take away 75% of regulations for small businesses. Now, of course, we encourage everybody to support your small farmers, your small organic grass-fed farmers, your small plant farmers, all that kind of thing. Now, you are actually growing money. You're growing money from the earth, and you're eating money too. You're growing money and then eating money. Tell us about you, and I know you use Dr. Furman's work a lot. You guys like Dr. Furman's work a lot. Tell us about food as nutrition, seeing food as not just different building blocks, but also as nutrition, and what perspective you have on how to maintain the temple of God, our bodies. Go ahead, Greg. No.
Well, it is the first blessing that God gave us to be fruitful. So what that really means is that you honor your own body as the temple of God. So you wouldn't, if you owned a high-end BMW, you would never imagine putting kerosene into the gas tank.
Oh yeah.
But the body is even more precious than a BMW.
Oh yeah.
It's more meticulously engineered by the living God. It is highly calibrated machinery. When even medical doctors and scientists who study the human body are just blown away at the complexity of the human body, the infinite intelligence that the body has, the thousands of billions of cells all working together harmoniously every day. Yet what do we do with this magnificent created temple? We pour kerosene down in the way of processed foods and chemicalized foods.
More beautiful than a BMW. Go ahead.
Yeah, so
she's over there.
imagine our kids today and adults too. Every day we're drinking Red Bull. We're having potato chips. We're having macaroni and cheese. We're having pizza after pizza after pizza.
Oh yes.
These are all nutrient deficient foods. They are not the living foods that God created through the plant world, through the natural animal world. God created this beautiful planet in perfection to match our DNA, to match our cellular needs. So when we eat natural foods that are not synthetic and not chemicalized, we are nourishing every cell of our body to respond the way that God designed it to respond. And so now we see the horrific effects of pouring kerosene down our mouth every day. We're now seeing diabetes is exploding throughout the world. We're seeing heart disease exploding throughout the world. We're seeing strokes. We're seeing autoimmune diseases, which is basically an imbalance of the human body because of all this toxic elements, not only from the food we eat, from the environment, and obviously spiritually from the media that surrounds us, creating a huge amount of stress in our life. So when it comes to stress, we can see that the small family farm has been literally stressed out of existence because of the imbalance of power. And small family farmers were really the original entrepreneurs in America. Almost over 90% of income came from family farms. So now we can see less than 1% of people making money at the small family farm. So there's been a huge shift in economy. And a large part of this is because of the collusion of business and government driving small families farms out through regulations, over-regulation, overtaxing. They can't compete. So now the family farmer, who was the king of entrepreneurism, is now minimalized. And now we're at a national security risk, if you think about it. If all of our food is coming in from China, Brazil, Latin America, throughout Central America, we don't know how to produce our own food anymore. People don't know how to grow vegetables anymore. They don't know how to grow fruit trees. They don't know how to harvest their own animals. We are at an intellectual deficit now where we don't know the skills that just 2 generations ago we used to know. Everybody used to know how to harvest a pig. Everybody knew how to grow kale and chard and all these wonderful greens. But now, literally, very few people know. This is a huge national security risk.
Wow. Well, that's an interesting perspective. Tim, chime in on this, because Tim is famous. Whenever we tell him about these nutrition stuff, he goes, "I like my GMO." So chime in on this before we go to break, Tim. Go ahead.
Well, when I turned 60, I promised myself that from now on I will eat whatever I want, whenever I want. And so far, it's been, 5,
But you've been
6...
doing that up to 60, and then you promised yourself you're just going to extend that. Tim is he's changing slowly. He's changing slowly, I think, with his surrounding influence and people he has around him now. But it is so critical to give your body the nutrition that you need, especially anybody who's doing athletics or sports or exercise, even just for general health. I mean, how essential is it for us to have the right nutrients for our body to function properly? I'm talking about mental clarity. I'm talking about brain capacity. I'm talking about, you're not dehydrated in your brain or glucose deficient in your brain. I'm talking about having, not flatline, but a stable insulin, curves, and eating those low glycemic carbohydrates, as well as healthy fruits and vegetables. And what is it? The USDA says you need 9 servings of fruits and vegetables per day, but that's probably an underestimate because you need much more than that in terms of fiber, in terms of nutrient density. You need like 30 different minerals per day, and I think up to 14 to 16 vitamins that your body requires. Everybody knows we need vitamin C every day, but we don't talk about the 14 other vitamins that we need every day your body needs from food sources. It doesn't create it naturally. And also the 30 to 40, what is it, 30 to 40 other minerals that your body actually needs to function properly. So important that our entire body and system is nourished properly for us to do God's work, to be powerful in our marriages, to be powerful in our families, to be powerful in our businesses, to be powerful in our work against political Satanism, which is trying to destroy the small farm and the small business and the small collective work of families and 3 generations, etc. Which of course the family farms producing conservatism, producing Christian values, producing care for the earth, producing stewardship, and producing intergenerational work ethic. So important. We'll be right back after this short break, more with our surprise guest, Greg Noll.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
Hello, welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to register online with our HSU classes. So let's do this. First you go to www.sanctuary-pa.org. Then you click on HSU. Scroll down, choose a class, and click on Register. Here you can fill in all the information that is needed for your registration. It's that easy. You can also go to ChristKingdomGospel.org to register. Click on Classes, scroll down, choose a class, and click on Register. It's that easy. Registration starts at January 22nd. Don't miss the deadline. It will come soon. So now you know how to register. I'll see you in class. I'm excited. No, what should I say?
At break of day,
And we are back at the King's Report as I'm trying to mess with the Queen right now. Now she heard me because it's a 10-second delay. I'm trying to say, look at your sexy man on TV, baby. And then 10 seconds later, she looks at me and goes, because there's a 10-second delay. It doesn't make for great romance, I tell you that. The 10-second delay does not make for great playing around with your wife. Okay, now, let's cue that article with that poor gentleman who's running a family farm out there. Oh, there he is. Where is this, in Wyoming? And this welder, go back to the title, go up to the title, go to the title, is being charged $75,000 a day by the Obama administration EPA for building a little pond on his property. $75K a day? $75K a day. A day. Every day he doesn't refill it or whatever, they comply with these stupid EPA regulations. He's being charged $75,000 a day, Greg. Now, as a small farmer, having to deal with these kind of bullying tactics and this kind of incredible surveillance and overreach and regulation and lobbying, I mean, only the big agri would do this so that it limits any competition from the small and medium-sized farms. Talk about this story or this issue. Go ahead, Greg Knoll.
Well, that's exactly what's happening is that, and right down the road from this pig farmer, probably there's a pig farm that has 10,000 pigs creating a manure lagoon. They call them toxic lagoons, where there is so much manure in a small, like the size of this room, and it becomes a pond of manure, pig manure, going into the aquifers down below, polluting the aquifers, spilling into the Mississippi River and other rivers, polluting like thousands and thousands of acres of land and damaging water. But these massive big pig farmers can get away with it because they donate money through lobbyists to politicians. Right. Whereas the small family farm, this guy has no voice in Washington, so therefore he's getting fined out of existence, and that's exactly what, big business wants. They don't like competition. They don't thrive in competition. They want to eliminate competition. So now there's only 4 to 6 major food producers in this country.
Ooh,
meanwhile, the small entrepreneurial farmer is going out into extinction.
So what are the main, name some of those companies? Are the Cargill is one of them?
Yeah, Cargill is a huge
Cargill
one.
is one.
Kraft is another huge one.
Kraft is another one, right.
Can't think of it right now, but you can probably look it up. There's really like 4 to 6
major conglomerates
that control like 80% of the food supply.
Wow.
So another decision my wife and I,
Monsanto, isn't it? Monsanto is also one of them,
well,
too.
Monsanto is a huge player in it. They supply all the fertilizers and the the Roundups, all the weed weed killers.
Yeah, they make 90% of corn in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, under the Obama administration.
Yeah, here it is. PepsiCo, Tyson Foods,
PepsiCo,
Nestle,
Tyson, okay.
Coca-Cola, ConAgra is another huge
okay.
one. Yeah.
And they spend millions upon millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to lobby for regulations and more regulations to put these poor small businesses out of competition.
Now, there is a movement. My wife and I are part of that movement, is to go back to small family farms and to create a local economy. Local economy fits right into the Chung-Il-guk Constitution, where money stays local, just like military should stay local, police should stay local, economy actually should be localized. So one way to fight this disaster that's happening is to buy local, buy from small family farms, go to your farmers markets, really support that.
Okay, on that note, let me ask you a question. I was on Amazon yesterday looking at organic hot dogs, right? Mm-hmm. Trying to find organic hot dogs.
Yeah.
And they were like, for a pack of 12, with like 6 hot dogs in each, it was like $150 or $60. Mm-hmm. You could buy a pack of hot dogs in the supermarket, GMO, of course, they're all GMO, all hormone fed. You could buy that for a pack of 12 for how much? Like $40 maybe?
No,
$50?
Much less.
Less than that.
Yeah.
Regular hot dogs.
Regular hot dogs, yeah. Yeah, they're like less than
$20, $30 or something?
Less than $1 each for sure.
So how does the small man compete with those prices that Walmart produces, that they're shipping us stuff from China, they're shipping all sorts of crap that is literally a toxic chemical, but they're selling at such low prices. How does the small farmer compete with that local market, that at the local level? How do you guys deal with that issue? Go ahead.
Well, it is a difficult one because organic, natural foods do cost more than the big agricultural food because they're being subsidized by our taxpayer dollars. Like the corn that they feed those animals is basically free because they're given millions upon millions of dollars from the government to raise the corn, and then they feed that GMO corn to their animals. So it's a really unfair advantage. Whereas the local farmer has to, buy his good hay, good clean corn, and has to follow, strict guidelines so the animal receives food that it's naturally designed to receive. So,
what a setup.
Yeah.
They have it totally stacked against.
Totally
the normal
stacked against,
Now,
yes.
what about that permaculture? In theory, I remember that Jeff Lawton program that we were studying, and he's accomplished that in Australia. He's been able to create a permaculture system which is totally cyclical. It's a mini ecosystem. All the fruits and vegetables go to the low shrubs. They fall down there. They feed the livestock with that. They feed the chicken houses, and it's an internally self-sustainable system within itself, and doesn't require any outputs or inputs from the outside coming in. Mm-hmm. In terms of practically how to make that system, for example, if you were raising livestock, all your livestock feed would be made from your ecosystem.
Right.
How difficult is that to actually actualize?
Well, it's not difficult. It's just a matter of studying what nature has already, the whole idea of permaculture is to mimic the natural world. You're just enhancing what God has already created. So
Right.
It's just a matter of re-educating ourselves and not falling into the conventional mindset that you need chemical fertilizers to keep weeds at bay. Really what you try to do is you create a complete ecosystem so that you attract birds, for example, to your farm. And those birds actually, and bats also, they keep the insects at bay. Because the problem with big corporate farms is monolithic crops produce an influx of pests. And the natural world cannot control those pests. Whereas if the small family farming model creates a massive biodiversity within a small area, that biodiversity keeps pests at bay, keeps predators at bay, because you create a natural system. So in theory, and I think this is being shown over and over again, a permaculture farm, because of its less reliance on outside goods coming in, will keep prices down, and you'll be able to create products that can compete with the so-called conventional farms.
So for example, I heard that you're going to be looking to make a pond and have a protein pond as well that's filtering all your water sources in, etc. And then that will be another nutrient-rich source for other things to work into that ecosystem, and then sort of building. Now, talk about it practically. When you first started, you couldn't set this up all at once. You had to set it up in stages, right?
Right.
So what was your first stage? Talk to the viewers on how you're staging it out, just in case we have people that are actually preparing or want to do this. Break it down for them in a simple way so they feel they're not in the fear and they're able to say, hey, we can do this. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think, first thing is education. You have to go online and see that people all over the world are getting back into small family farms because it's good for the body, good for your own individual health. It's really good for your families to have kids running around in nature rather than in suburbia and cities. You got to get yourself out of the suburbia, out of the cities, because it really is not a healthy scenario from a stress perspective. And also to understand the value of a small family farm on the overall global environment. I think knowledge is really the first step, and once you educate yourself, my wife and I went through a self-study program, not only with Jeff Lawton, but other Dr. Furman, and just understanding the importance of natural food, living in the natural world. And then that gave us the knowledge, and also seeing other people that are doing it all over the place to go out and create our own sustainable farm. And it's been a very rewarding experience. And you try to find land that has been untouched by fertilizers, chemical fertilizers. You want to start with soil that is clean, and you want to have a good water source. So those are some of the important things. You want to have well water that's really clean, coming from a good source. You want to have an area that has plenty of fresh air, good quality soil. And then to build those soils, you need to add a lot of organic material to it. So I think the first step is committing yourself to a small family farm scenario on permaculture principles. And then it doesn't have to be a huge piece of property. You can do it on 1 acre, you can do it on 2 acres. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. You can buy a simple home with 1 tillable acre of land and create enough food for you and your family.
Boy, on this, remember in the Lake Sanctuary, we had a tiny little patch. I mean, literally less than 10 by 10, less than 10 by 10. And right in front of the house, remember that? And we made this little patch where we made kale, and that kale just kept on coming out.
It's amazing.
It was incredible. It produced for like months and months and months. It was absolutely amazing to see that. Now, there are so many myths about this whole, about a family farm or starting it. For example, if I do a family farm, I'm going to have to live like the Pilgrims. Or if I do a family farm, I'm going to have to live like, what are they, the Amish or something, right? Mm-hmm. But the Amish, as part of their religion, reject certain technological advances. Doesn't mean that you have to do that. Right. You guys embrace technology. Chaniguk embraces technology. Using force multipliers to cut lumber, using force multipliers to harvest different things, right? So it is, and of course, at the same time, you're a very high-tech system as well. You have a greenhouse, an underground greenhouse that's going to come in with all sorts of temperature rating and stuff like that. Here at the palace, we have solar panel systems and all this kind of thing, right? So it is not what we assume, like it's just going to be like the Amish when we start a farm. There are so many myths sort of surrounding that scare people out of pursuing that or even stepping into that. But you can be super modern. You can still be very, very modern. You can still have all the modern amenities, but in a healthy way, maybe modified so that it actually helps work for your farm, like your composting toilets, right? It's totally modern toilets, but they help offer value to your ecosystem. And at the same time, if you do farming, for example, how does your wife, because she has to deal with the daily, chores of working the land and working the kale and stuff like that. I remember she was telling me she was going out there every day, working that land, etc. How did she deal with that? Maybe we should bring in, but how did she deal with that? Because sometimes ladies like to go shopping. They like to go and hang out with their girlfriends. They want to go to the coffee shop. They want to go and do some fun stuff out of the house. They don't want to be cooped up in the house. And so that scares a lot of ladies saying, hey, I'm going to be cooped up in my house all day long. Maybe the kids all grow up, but now I got to take care of these vegetables. How do you guys deal with the psychological barriers that are there that scare people out of unlocking that epigenetic?
Well, I'm very fortunate. My queen loves to be in the garden. It's the government regulations that keep her doing bookkeeping all the time and filling out endless paperwork that drives her crazy. She hates that. But she's happiest in the garden, tending to vegetables. And if she could do that all the time, she'd be very happy. But because of our over-regulating...
So she doesn't go shopping at all?
She does. She likes the Angels thrift store in Milford, and she finds incredible deals. So yeah, I think living frugally is a good characteristic that you develop. These kind of conservative traits. You're not out spending massive amounts of money on endless silly things, but you become very practical in what do we need to live on. And she has very good taste, so she's able to find things at very good prices. But yeah, she's. I think it's very liberating to work in the soil. I know before I go out and work I have to leave the farm to make money. I eventually want to shift that to where my entire source comes from the farm, but it does take a lot of effort to do that. But to begin your day feeding the chickens or taking care of the pigs is a beautiful way to begin the day and end the day. So
now, when you have a romantic dinner planned, Who does the cooking for that dinner?
We do it together.
You do it together. Hey, there you go. There you go. That's the
You know,
key
that's
right there.
another lost trait that's happened in our suburban and urbanization is that we've gotten away from the joy of cooking and
Yeah,
making
the
meals
joy
together.
of yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So we
So true.
oftentimes at Bluestone, we go around this island that we have, and we're all chopping vegetables together. We're all doing things. We're all making the meal together, and it's a really wonderful experience. We love it.
That's so true. Families used to do that all the time, and we have lost that tradition of making food together.
Yes.
Wow, such an important thing. We'll be right back after this short break on the King's Report.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in national defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
Oh, we invite the presence of the Lord in this place tonight. Let me be an instrument to exalt and to expand Jesus' name globally as the waters cover the sea. Open the heavens, oh Lord. Pour out your spirit, cover the earth with your glory. Cover the earth with your glory. Cover the earth with the sound of heaven. All of the earth is yours. All of the earth is yours. All of the nations adore you. Cover the earth with the sound of heaven. Cover the earth. Start rocking, Lord. Open up the heavens. Come on. Open up the heavens. Let a new sound be released. As the waters cover the sea.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your
And we are back. Welcome back to the final segment of the King's Report this day, Tuesday, February 7th, 2017. I'm your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second king of Chanyeolguk. And covering some of the stories very quickly, President Trump yesterday was at military base, Fort Base MacDill, pointing out that Islamic State terrorists were on a campaign of genocide and were striking within the United States and throughout Europe. It's gone to the point where it's not even being reported, Trump said during a speech, and in many cases, the very, very dishonest press doesn't want to report it. They have their reasons, and you understand that. Trump's remarks drew instant condemnation from reporters who appeared appalled that he would accuse them of covering up terrorism, which they do. This is either delusional or intended to whip up hysteria. There's no third explanation, wrote former Obama senior advisor. And of course, they do that. All the press has been shown to cover these stories where the guys are screaming Allahu Akbar and blowing up things or shooting people for no reason and saying killer does this or killer does that. Never explaining the fact that he was doing Allahu Akbar and that he's a refugee from Somalia. Or like the stabbing that happened just a couple months ago with the stabbing on the university campus. Students being stabbed. I think there was a couple deaths in that one. My memory doesn't serve me correctly there. And other incidents in France and Nice, etc. Sexual assault, all these things where they're screaming Allahu Akbar. They're not just randomly shouting that. That has a certain meaning in a certain religion, which has now become totally radicalized by the Saudi Wahhabis and the left that protects them. And the leftist corporate-owned media that protects them, which is the reason why they don't, report that fact in reality. Another breakdown on InfoWars. That article was from Breitbart. This one is from InfoWars. Alex Jones goes down, breaking down in his first segment, Goldman Sachs practicing economic terrorism against Trump. Let's listen to this breakdown real quick. In the car, by the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, this may be one of the most important videos you ever see. Because if the public is aware of what's going on and what's happening, the social engineers won't be able to get away with what they're up to. Now, one of the biggest attacks I've heard on Trump is that he hired a few people like Stephen Bannon and Mnuchin from Goldman Sachs, which is the biggest, most powerful banking cartel in the world, so he must be working for them. Let me give you some history before I give you the new news. Goldman Sachs gave 100% of their campaign money to Hillary, 0 to Trump. What's that tell you? He's not with Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan created the unelected global TPP corporate takeover. Trump just killed it. They want open borders. Trump's killing that. They want high taxes on middle class and poor people. Trump's killing that. They don't want local banks and credit unions loaning to small businesses. Trump's killing that. They don't want vaccine damage investigations. Trump's killing that. They want carbon taxes. Trump's killing that. And on and on. But still, they sit there and they shoot their big, corrupt, evil mouths off. And they sit there like we're dumbasses, like we don't know what's going on. And they push that Trump's going to implode the economy when Bloomberg, CNBC, AP, Reuters, every publication you could ever imagine in your life came out today and said, we're going to kill the Trump bubble. We're going to sabotage the Trump stock market that gained over $1 trillion to stop his movement. And we're going to raise interest rates to make sure the poor people don't get any money. And then we're going to blame him with it. And they think the public's so dumb, they admit their plan in the damn newspapers.
Okay. All right. And then Alex goes on to break that down. Now, when they are manipulating the economy, and they have all the levers there. They are in charge of the Federal Reserve. They are in charge of the printing press. They print money illegally. They run the Federal Reserve and run interest rates up or down illegally. They are totally market riggers, and that's, of course, how they take control of the economy. Now, he just mentioned the fact that they're planning to implode the economy. We know the economy has rised $2.2 trillion in terms of the confidence that Trump has brought inauguration and also post-inauguration. It's been going up a lot. Now, there are experts that say that this rise in stock is a bubble. It's a stock bubble. And this bubble will burst, not because of Trump, or the economy will crash even greater than 2008 Lehman Brothers crash, not because of Trump, but because of the years and years and years of quantitative easing. We have a huge derivatives debt bubble. We have a huge student loan bubble, okay, that is coming around the corner. China has a massive infrastructure bubble that will burst. They've oversupplied their infrastructure and not to match demand. So that is a reality of the world global crisis now, is that the central banks have continued to manipulate the economy and to continue to quantitatively ease and basically footing the taxpayer with the bill of all these failed bailouts and these failed schemes that they've been doing, whether it's the mortgage debt bubble, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This all affects the local person, because if you're seeing this stock rise and say, hey, I got to get all in stocks now, But there may be a stock crash. It's so important to be in secure assets, assets that will not radically change, right? In terms of whether or not the market is up or down. And you talked about before the break, or a couple of breaks ago, that you divested a lot of your portfolio from stocks and into real assets like land and or property and or livestock, organic farming, etc., things like that. Goldman Sachs practiced economic terrorism against Trump. The global elite trying to now implode and expedite the process of implosion for the Western economic markets. Then trying to bring in another failed collapse so that Trump has to work his way out of it. Cook Jung, I talked to him about this, and Cook Jung said, well, Trump has to bring out the welfare recipients, people who are on welfare, and get them back into the labor pool. Because we have almost 100% capacity on our workforce demographic at this point, according to top investors like Harry Dent and top strategists. So there are growing markets that are less urbanized than America. America is what, 60% urbanized? What is it, 60% urbanized? India is now 33% urbanized. China has super urbanization right now. And so there are economic experts that are saying, hey, it's time to now invest in other countries that are now urbanizing. If you can get into those urban cities quickly, like India and Mumbai, and be investing in those urbanizing cities now, well, when the urbanization comes in, and then that real estate will go up, etc. But in terms of America, we have a situation in which we have almost 100% of our workforce now employed. They've been hired back. But we don't have the ability in that current model, if we don't touch the welfare people, to be able to create a growing economy with a stagnant workforce and a negative workforce, because the baby boomers are also retiring at 65% years old. So we are in a situation where we do have to tap into that welfare force. That's what Cook Jung's insight was, and it was a tremendous insight. For people who are coming out of welfare and just trying to get trained to get some kind of job in the city, it's not necessary that they only think like that, isn't it? They could also think, when I get a welfare, I want to start a family farm. I want to divest my assets into urbanization process, which has already happened in America. And I want to start a family farm, or I want to have a collective where I can get in on a family farm, maybe work in as an intern, etc., and then work my way up so I can eventually become some kind of shareholder in that farm. Wouldn't that be an interesting alternative for people who are coming off the welfare rolls and not necessarily just jumping back into the machine, but also going into these alternative routes that are now starting to develop and burgeon as Trump will deregulate these industries, helping the small and medium-sized farms? Greg Knoll, go ahead, comment on that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities for people to get back into farming. There's a lot of people that have written books on how to start a farm on a shoestring budget. One is just by working a deal out with an existing farmer who has too much land he doesn't even use, and just using 2 acres of that land. Say a farmer has like 200 acres. He's growing mostly hay. He can give 2 acres to a new farmer and give some kind of like a tax break for these new farmers where they don't have to pay taxes. That's the biggest killer why people don't start businesses now. Things are overtaxed and overregulated. So if the government were to do anything is just to take away the rules and regulations like what Trump wants to do, then these small farmers can lease land from an existing farmer and have a specialty crops.
Like sharecropping.
Yeah, like sharecropping, exactly. And then over time, 5-10 years, then they become self-sufficient. They can buy their own land and then start their own farm, owning the land that they have.
Wow, this is interesting. This reminds me of the conversation we had yesterday with the gentleman from the trade minister from Korea. And he now works for the World Trade Organization. And we thought this guy would be a total globalist. We thought he would be a total like leftist commie. He ended up getting quite conservative. I mean, he's right up conservative in terms of Korea. So we were quite happy with that. But he was mentioning, for example, that people lie to the public and lie to the president in Korea, saying that North Korea is starving and they're out of, they can't, everybody's dying of starvation, etc., and nobody can eat in North Korea, which he was saying is not true. You have now, they're allowing people to go into land and start becoming like, property owners. And they're starting to allow like people to grow their, stop giving it a sign, you're messing up my thinking. they're trying to give people like deals where they say 60% of the crop, you can do what you want, you can sell it, you can start, selling it to people. And with the 70% and the 30% of the crop you sell to the government, but the government will give you a market rate. This is what North Korea is actually doing. So they're actually bringing back sort of agrarianism because they've studied the models on what was the example he gave, in the Soviet Union or something like that, where he saw that when you go ahead, Tim, you remember this, where when you deregulate agriculture and let people allow them to allow them to do what they will with their land and with the produce they create, agriculture then produces more. And so he was saying that North Korea is already doing this, but in South Korea, they don't want to report on this to the president, and they want to just lie to him and not tell him, hey, look, North Korea is not going to be starving, they're going to produce more. Of course, North Korea is totally tyrannical, and it is totally political Satanism. But in the fact of the matter is, that just reminded me of that whole discussion we're having with sharecropping, that even the totalitarians are realizing that farming and helping people be self-sufficient is an important step for their people. How much more is it important for people who live in sovereignty and or live in Cheongguk to have this type of dominion? The Americas were created by farmers. I mean, the Americas, the first Virginia colonies were all by organic farmers. Farmers who were finally allowed to own land and do what they will with their own property. And I spoke about this many times during the sermons. The first 3 years of the American colonies in Virginia were failed. They were utter abysmal. There were mass famines. There were massive death. In some of the colonies, up to 80-90% of people were dying over the winters, the harsh winters. And when the government transitioned that over from the collectivized system into an individualized system where people can be private landowners and do what they will with their share crop, that's when Thanksgiving came. That's when all the prosperity came. That's when all the affluence came to America, and nobody was hungry again, and they could share with the Indians and etc. and do trade, and they could specialize and do all those kind of things that would allow them to become wealthy. So in Cheongguk, that is such an important thing, whereas in the popular culture, under the socialist, communist, corporate-run media government that we had under Obama, they would constantly demonize being a farmer. That you were some kind of, you'd be dirty all the time, and you're old and old-fashioned, and modern is technology. No, modern farming is very technological.
That's right.
It's all farms are now hardwired into the internet.
Yep.
I mean, many farms are using solar paneling and high-tech gadgetry. It is not low-tech at all, right? And sort of that mythology that's been built up by the corporate media to steer people away from empowering themselves with real asset management and making real assets like organic food. That is an asset. Your health is an asset. Your body is an asset. It is a real asset. You can have all the money in the world. If you don't have your body or your health, you're dead on the ground. You don't got nothing. So having your health, having organic farming, having private property, having a farm, having livestock, having gold and silver, having a network of quality people, having guns and lead. I mean, these are all assets. But organic farming and food is an asset. And the health of your body is an asset. Before we end today's broadcast, any final words to those who may be scared about trying to go forth and unlock their epigenetics, even starting a small little garden? What do you have to say to those people of Cheongguk right here, right now?
Yeah, I think that's it. Start a small garden, do a community garden in your town. That's what my wife and I did. We got started in all of this by doing a community garden in Greenwood Lake, and we had 20 members, and they came, and we kind of gardened together in small little plots, and we saw the joy of community, the joy of doing it together, learning from each other. And then from there, with the food tasted so good, it was just a natural evolution to get our own property where we could grow our own food. And it's very liberating, like you said. We're only 2 or 3 days away from empty shelves in the grocery stores. So having your own food source gives you incredible security. Our freezer now is full of pork and beef and wonderful food, and we actually still are eating greens from our greenhouse. So we have food security. Like even if the whole world blows up, except for our little farm, we can continue to survive. That's incredible security.
Wow. So you're just encouraging them to get started small,
Yep,
start
start
small,
small.
and just
Yep.
get into it. Just ready, fire, aim.
That's
you know
it.
what I'm saying? Don't ready, aim, fire until practice. You're preparing out your wazoo so that you never get launched. You ready, fire, aim. So get moving. Start growing one piece of kale.
That's it.
Start growing one piece of fruit. Start growing a tomato. And then you can realize, hey, this is not as bad as I thought. And then you build your strength as you go. You build how much weight you can lift the same way. And you get better and better as you go. All right, folks, thank you, Greg, for that wonderful advice and empowering kingdom mentality when it comes to thinking about our families and our real assets and our three kingships working together, our three generations working together. We are thankful for everybody who's joining us today live on this Tuesday, February 7th, 2017 broadcast. We want to wish blessings upon you this day. And remember, God hath given you an identity made in his image, to be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion over creation. And as the kingdom gospel is now finally being preached again, and state-run Christianity is fading away, real Christians and real Christianity is now being preached once again as the kingdom gospel is spreading over the world. And as the kingdoms of Satan and political Satanism collapse, political Godism and the kingdom of God is rising. We pray blessings upon you today, safety upon you today, that God is with you, that you give him all the praise, and that you stay warm and cozy this day, giving him joy, giving him laughter, giving him pleasure, and giving him all the praise and glory. We'll see you tomorrow sharp, 5 a.m. on the King's Report.
The skies are dark and